So in this lesson, we're going to look at improving our player by adding some relevant animations to the character. So these are the steps we're going to take then. So the first thing we need to do is to change the sprite node to an animated sprite. Then we need to look at fixing the collisions for the new sprite and all of the animations. Then we're going to add 3 animations. We're going to have one for idle, one for run, and one for jump. You can have more than that if you want, but that's all we're going to do in this lesson. And then finally, we're going to add between 5 and 7 lines of code just to make the animations play when we play our character. So here we go. So the first thing you need to do then is open up the player scene. So here's our player scene, and we've got the original Godot icon here. So we're going to change this. So up in this area here, we have this sprite that's called body. Now I've called mine body. If you've called yours something else, you're going to need to keep this in mind in a little while. So what we now need to do is right click on this node and then go down to change type. And the type that we want is an animated sprite. So if I type in sprite again, and it's the one above it. So in order to have multiple sprites on one sprite, we use the animated sprite. So we just double click on this one and then we have it done. It gives us this warning here, and that is purely because we need to set up some animations. So if we click on this button here, there's frames and there's a little drop down. We can say new sprite frames. When we get this, if we just click on this again, so we've added the new sprites, and once we've done that, we just click on this button and it brings up all of our kind of area that we're going to put our sprites into. So we're going to start by changing the default to idle. So we're just going to say IDLE for idle. I've kept mine as a lowercase. You can use uppercase if you want, but if you do, just remember. Now what we need to do is go and find the sprites that we're going to use. So if we scroll back to the top and go into our folder that we've got, you'll notice a folder called player. So if we come in here, we have loads and loads of different things. We have a walk cycle, and we also have a jump, and we also have a stand. So we could use either of these really. We could use stand or we could use front. I quite like stand. We could also use any of the different colours as well. So if you want to try one of the other colours out, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to use the green one. So let's use the stand one. So click and drag this in. Now we have our sprite set up for our animation. For this particular animation, that's all we're going to do. Just have one sprite. I'm also going to change the speed, and you'll need to play around with your speed to something that suits, but I'm going to change it to 10 because I have found in my test that this works really well. Okay, now we've got this set up, we have to set up our collisions to make sure they work fine, and at the moment this square box is not going to cut it. So if we come over to our collision and then we come down to where it says shape and click on this arrow, the one we want is a capsule for this. You can try some others out, but I'm going to use the capsule. Remember, when you're using collisions, you have to use these inner circles. Do not use the outer ones, otherwise you will break your collision detector. So if we click on the upper one, I'm just going to try and keep this as centered as possible, and I just want this to touch on the bottom bit, and that's all I want to do there. Nice and easy. So we've set up our collisions. Now let's go back to our animations. So in order to get back to the animations, we first click on the body and then we click on this frames bit here, just the text part of it. Okay, so click on that and it will bring this up. So the next animation that we need to add is going to be the run cycle. So if we click on this button here that has the plus, and it allows us to add a new animation. So let's call this one, if I double click, and we're going to call this run. And once again, it's a lowercase r. You can type yours whatever you want or call it something different, but just remember what you call yours. So we're going to have the run. Now, if we come up to the walk cycle and we click on the PNGs, and we've got all of our runs in here. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm only going to use the first 7 for mine. Okay, if you want to use more, that's up to you, but I'm just going to use 7. So click, drag, and then do the same for all of them one at a time, just to make sure they all go in the right order. There we go. Almost there. And this is our last one. Okay, so we have our run idle. We do need to test this now, so let's just make sure it works. So if we come back up to here and click on the body, and we can say play. So if we click on the play button, it's going to play the idle. Now that's what's already playing. So let's just change the animation state to run. So it's ready to run, and now let's press the play button, and you see that everything is working and it's awesome and everything works. Brilliant. So let's turn that off. We don't need to have that on, and I'm just going to switch that back to idle. I just wanted to make sure it worked. Actually, was it too slow? Let me just check that one more time to make sure the speed's okay. That should be okay. We might have to come back in and speed it up, but that should be okay. Okay, so let's go back to the animation and do the last one, which is jump. So click back on the body and then click on this text that says sprite, and then it brings it in. So let's add another one, and this time we're going to call it jump. Okay, and then just click off of it. And the jump one, if I click back and then click back again, the jump one for me is this one here. Fantastic. And that's pretty much all we need to do here. We just need to do just a tiny bit of coding. But what I want to do is save everything. So if I go scene and then save scene, and then just to be on the safe side, save all scenes. And let's just run our scene and make sure that the new character has come in and he collides with the floor. So here we go. And he collides with the floor, move him along. The animations don't play yet. It's because we just need to code it. There's about, I think it's either 5 or 7 lines of code. It's not very much. It's relatively simple. So let's do that now. So let's add our code. We've already got a script set up on the player node. So let's click on this. And here's our script here. So we're going to need, for the right and left, we're going to need to make it walk for there. And for the up, we're going to need to make it jump. And then for the else, we're going to need to make it be idle. So let's have a look at this. So the first thing I want to do is called flip. Now, if we click on this body again, you'll notice somewhere in here there is this H flip and V flip, and you can click on that and it will turn the directions. And because the button exists, it's also possible to code it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to code this. So when we're going left, we're going to have it false, and then when we're going right, we're going to have it the other way, or vice versa, sorry. Okay, so let's go back to the script and let's code that bit first. So in where it says if statement for right, let's add another line of code. Make sure the indenting is right. And the code we want is this sprite up here. So we want to grab this sprite. In order to grab this sprite and to code for it, we need to use the $sign. So it's dollar and then the name of the node. Now the node has to be exactly the same as it's spelled, and they also come up here, which is very, very useful. So let's click on the body because that's the one we want. So we want to say body dot flip underscore, and the one we want is H. Okay, so flip H, and then we're going to say false. Okay, so that will keep it facing the right direction. Now let's just do the same for the other direction, for the left direction. So let's copy that and let's paste it in the left direction. But rather than saying false, we're going to say true. Okay, let's just test that bit of code. So we've got 2 lines of code here. We've got flip H false for when we're going right, and we've got flip H true when we're going left. Let's just click on this and make sure it works. And let it drop in. Oops. Here we go. So going left, going right, going left, and so on. That's left, that's right. Okay, fantastic. Let's do the next bit of code. Let's get the animations working. So in order to get the animations working, we need to call the node again, and this time we need to access the play button. So let's say, go and get that node again, which is the body one, and then we're going to say dot play. Now we need to tell it what we want it to play. So currently by default it's playing idle. So what we want it to play is run. So put 2 speech marks up, and in between the speech marks we're just going to say run. Okay, and we need this exact same code for the next one. So copy this code and paste it here. So there we go, we've got 4 lines of code. So now that should sort out that animation. So let's just save our work. Always good to save. Now let's press the play button and see what we got. I keep doing that. So here we go, and it's running. And it's a bit slow, so I I might increase that to, yeah, I will increase that. Anyway, now it's not stopped, it's not gone back to idle. So even though I've stopped pressing, it's not gone back to idle. So we do need to tell it to go back to idle. Okay, let's do that now. So the bit of code that we need is the same as this line here. So let's just copy this. But rather than putting run in there, control copy, we're going to put idle in there. So we're going to call up the idle animation. Okay, so we're just going to say idle, I-D-L-E. Fantastic. So this one here is when it's standing still. This code here is when you're trying to go left, and this one here is when you're trying to go right. Okay, so let's just, actually we'll just carry on. Yes, we'll carry on. Let's just do the last little bit, which is jump. So in our jump motion, we just need to add an else. Now, watch your indenting on this one. So I'm going to add a space, and then I'm going to delete twice. So once, twice. So my else has to go in line with this if statement on line 27. If it doesn't, it will not work. So it's else, and then a colon at the end. And then all we're going to say is pull up the jump statement. So I'm going to copy that line in, and I'm just going to say jump. Now, I believe that is all we need. So how many lines of code did we add? We added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code, which is great. 6 lines of code, and we have our animation working. So let's just save that again. Now this time I'm going to click on this button here so we don't keep getting the opening screen. And let's just see if it works. And hopefully that's all we need to do. That's my bad. Let's press the play button. Forget about it. There we go. Right, here we go, and we're running. That works. And I've stopped pressing, and that works. I'm going to go left, and that works. I'm going to jump. Woo! Okay, fantastic. Okay, and also if I go this way, it goes that way as well, which is great. Okay, so that's pretty much everything we need to do. So you can get that bit done, and I'll see you in the next lesson.